Hosted by you/snoo_61002. I don't intend for the title to sound so harsh, but I don't know how else to put it. I'll also be blunt, but I'm just presenting the facts. I'm marrying my partner, Alice, who is from another country. Her sister, Beth, is slowly passing away from cancer. It is heartbreaking. She is a young mother and wife. Her diagnosis was about 4 years ago. When she was first diagnosed, she was given 1 to 2 years to live. Since we were in a different country, and Beth remained in her home country with her family after Alice immigrated, we saved up some money and traveled to say goodbye to her. It was about the 1.5 year mark when we went to say goodbye, and we had gotten engaged soon beforehand. So we also visited some of the family and asked them how long they needed to save up to come over for our wedding, as our dollar is much stronger than theirs. They said 2 years, so that was agreed. We spent a month with her, laughing, lamenting, and spending as much quality time as possible with her. By the end of the trip, though, and with the chemo, she was exhausted. We said our heartbreaking goodbyes, assuming we would never see her again. Then she made a miraculous recovery, with less than a 1% chance of happening, which was awesome. We, along with her other family members who had also immigrated, such as her father and brother, decided to pool our money together and support her move here to spend the rest of her life with us. That was about a year ago. Now, Alice and I are getting married in 2 weeks. All of her family are coming to visit. It's a big joyous occasion with lots of travel. We've spent thousands to help her family get here, and they're all staying for a month or so to celebrate our wedding and spend time with us. 2 weeks ago, Beth received a bad diagnosis. They found lumps and said she has about a year left to live. She, for obvious reasons, didn't handle this well and lashed out at us in our wedding, telling us not to talk about it around her. Alice has always kind of lived in her older sister's shadow, so she was really excited to be celebrated and made a fuss about it. But Beth has told everyone about her diagnosis and has started saying, "This is the last time I will see most of you." Now the focus is completely off our wedding and is absolutely on Beth. I feel heartless and heartbroken, but I'm frustrated by this. She has been going out of her way to ensure that the people who are coming across, for whom we have paid thousands for flights, spend as much time with her as possible, as this is the last time she will see them. Now this period of joy and celebration has an undeniable black cloud hanging over it, and people have very obviously stopped making Alice feel special. On top of this, Beth has maintained her stance that we not talk about our wedding around her. But the big issue is that Beth got married during COVID, so she never had a father-daughter dance. She wants to have one at our wedding, after Alice has her father-daughter dance, with her own song, which, to be honest, seems incredibly sad. I have said no because Alice wanted to say no but felt too guilty, so I had to be the bad guy. I also told Alice that if we're not to talk about our wedding around her sister, then I don't want her sister talking about her cancer around us. Now I'm being called a jerk. I do absolutely feel like one, but I also feel like it is grossly unfair to ask us to brush our wedding under the carpet because of this. Am I in the wrong here? Update 1. I'm the same person who had the wedding drama. Some things have happened which have led us to cut contact with my sister-in-law who has cancer. The wedding went off without a hitch, though the lead up to the wedding was a bit nightmarish. I'll summarize it quickly before getting into the update. My sister-in-law, Beth, tried to tell someone they weren't allowed to come to the wedding because of something they said to her. We found out at the last second and were able to contact that person, so they could thankfully still come. We also paid for accommodations for my wife's little brother and cousins because they could not afford it, and so they could spend time together a couple of days before the wedding. However, Beth convinced them only to come up for the wedding and not spend time with my wife for whatever reason. There was a whole family fight, and it was supposedly resolved with my sister-in-law given a talking to. I told her family that if Beth caused any issues whatsoever during the wedding, she would be kicked out without exception. If her family doesn't want this to happen, then they need to get this sorted before I do because their soft approach has disappointed me, and now they've all been warned. The day went off without a hitch. It was beautiful, perfect, happy, fun, and everything we wanted it to be. No drama, no major issues, and my new wife loved every moment. She was spoiled and made to feel special. Beth had a father-daughter dance with a happy song when the dance floor opened up to everyone, and they were happy with that. Now for why I'm posting again. While we were visiting family the other day, I was relaxing on a couch below a ledge in the lounge, so you couldn't see me from the dining room. I was there with Alice and her family, but Beth didn't realize I had come with. Alice and her little sister came into the dining area in tears and sat down next to their mom. Before they could say anything, Beth came in and talked to them with a venom I had never seen. She was shouting at them and talking to them like they were children, telling them to never dare walk away from her again during an argument. There was a viciousness at a level that I'd never tolerate from anyone. The argument happened because we had come to pick up our nephew, Beth's son, from school so that Beth could rest. Beth exploded because we didn't tell her in advance that we were visiting, and screamed at her family that it's a privilege for them to babysit her child and that if they're going to try and help, then they need to do it how she asks, when she asks. She spoke to my wife like she was scum several levels below her. When I stood up and Beth saw me, she jumped with shock and then immediately stormed out of the room. I stood up and said, "We're leaving." In the car, I said to Alice that if Beth ever spoke to her like that again, there would be harsh, firm boundaries put in place. Later, We received a message from Beth's husband saying we were being selfish and making the whole family visit about us and our wedding, which, of course, it was, since that's what everyone was originally visiting for. The problem is that this has been happening for months, and I feel like an idiot because when my wife told me about it, she downplayed it. Her family keeps saying, Beth doesn't have that much time left, it's affecting her mind, or, let's just move past it so we can enjoy the time we have left with her. Beth's treatment of my wife has gotten worse and worse. She keeps trying to convince people not to spend time with us while they're here. She exempts herself from family plans, then makes new plans excluding my wife, and tells people my wife is being greedy with others' company. Alice came home yesterday in tears, saying she had considered driving her car off a bridge because of how much her sister has broken her heart. Alice went to say goodbye to one of her uncles who was flying out, and Beth apparently did the same thing as the day before but worse, according to a couple of the witnessing family members. I had to hold her while she sobbed uncontrollably for 15 minutes, asking me why her sister was doing this to her when all she had done was try to love her. This is the part that may make me a jerk. I put a message in the group chat I'm in with her immediate family saying, to cut a long story short, I will not talk to any of you until you start to hold Beth accountable for her actions. Any promises of unifying our families were a lie until she apologizes and shows she's going to cut this crap out. I said my wife's unrelenting kindness is being exploited for weakness, that my wife is psychologically unsafe around her own family, that I swore in my vows to protect my wife, and that I have no interest in being part of a family that treats each other like this. I said I'd be leaving the conversation. I don't want anyone to contact me unless it's to apologize to Alice and explain how things will be different moving forward, and not to add me to any group conversations. I blocked any form of contact access that Beth had. Alice didn't want me to send the message because she didn't want to make things worse. I told her things were being made worse by her family's unwillingness to call out Beth because of her limited time. She told me I could do what I felt I needed to do, but her family would be upset with me. Now they've called a family meeting, and I've refused to go until Alice has apologized too, and the family outright promises to hold her sister accountable. Her family is all very upset with me for what I said about our two families joining and for being harsh to Beth. My own family thinks I'm being too harsh, except my dad and older brother, who think I'm making the right choice. What do you guys all think? Commenter. Is it possible her cancer has spread to her brain? It can drastically alter a person's behavior. Ops response. To be honest, yes, this is possible, which I struggle with greatly. I also empathize with the fact that she's leaving this world soon and Alice is just starting her life, Beth's own words. But I feel this ferocious protectiveness for my wife. Commenter. Oh man, I have a story for this. Before my mother was diagnosed with cancer, she started to slip mentally. She became paranoid, aggressive, scared, delusional, pretty much everything on the emotional spectrum to its extremes. A doctor thought it might have been some sort of early onset dementia or schizophrenia, so she was in and out of the hospital for care for that. It turns out a specialist my father was seeing for his own health problems had recommended that my father see if he could get my mother tested for cancer. Lo and behold, she had cancer, but it was already too late. I guess the cancer was reacting badly to medication she was on, giving her those wild extreme mood swings. They switched her medication, took her off some, and she came back to her normal mental self. Alas, the cancer was already too far progressed, and she only had a few months of clarity before she passed. It's a real shame too because as much as I miss her, I still hold how she acted during those mental breaks against her because of how aggressive and extreme she was. I know it's not her fault, but it really soured our relationship to the point where there was no time to repair it before she passed. That being said, reading Op's story, I'm pretty sure Beth is just a diva.